Welcome to Mastermind Conversations, a Pro Insights podcast, powered by Geek in New York, where we don't just talk, we geek it. We break down complex topics, research from trusted sources, and bring your expert insights, real-life stories, and actionable tips, all in a clear and engaging way. So get ready, it's time to geek it with Mastermind Conversations.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I know you're all here because you really want to see your brand grow in 2025 and beyond. And, obviously that means having a smart marketing strategy right there. So today we are diving deep into why podcasts are going to be, I think, an absolute essential for any brand that wants to make a real impact in 2025.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. It's becoming a really important part of, the marketing landscape.
And the best part is we're going to talk about how you can actually launch one without breaking the bank.
Absolutely. Could be surprisingly affordable.
Yes, very surprisingly affordable. So to give you an idea of where we're headed in this deep dive, we've got some really fascinating material to unpack. We've been looking at Forbes books, and they have some great insights into how podcasts can really position you as an authority in your field.
That's right, yeah.
And then we have The Future, who have a super interesting take on how powerful that audio-only format is. Mm-hmm. Why it creates such a unique kind of intimacy with listeners.
Yeah, it's different, right? It's not like video.
Yeah, it's totally different. And then, we'll touch on ideas from some top marketing experts like Alex Catoni, who's all about the importance of real, genuine connection.
Right. Building those relationships. It's huge in 2025 with all the, noise and skepticism out there.
Exactly. So, this is not going to be just theory. We're going to break down 10 practical tips that you can use right away to get your brand's podcast up and running.
Totally. We'll look at different podcast styles so you can figure out which one's going to be the best fit for your brand.
That's key. You got to find your voice.
Absolutely. And of course, we can't ignore the budget side of things, so we'll definitely dive into that.
Yes, we will, especially because, there are some really affordable options out there. In fact, speaking of affordable, this deep dive is sponsored by 360 Nexus Marketing. And let me tell you, these folks are the real deal. I mean, over 100 five-star reviews.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's incredible, right? They take care of everything from A to Z when it comes to launching your podcast. And get this, their whole launch service is just $249.
That's insane.
I know, it's a game changer. So we'll definitely mention them again because that's a price point you got to hear more about.
For sure.
But, coming back to this deep dive, we'll also talk about how your podcast can fit into your broader marketing strategy, because it shouldn't just be a thing that's happening over there.
Yeah, it's all connected.
It's all got to work together. So think of this as your insider's guide.
Absolutely. We've done the homework so you don't have to.
Exactly. We've dug through all the information and we're bringing you the stuff that really matters. So by the end of this, you won't just know why your brand needs a podcast in 2025, but you'll also know how to make it happen. So let's start with that why. I mean, why are we seeing podcasts everywhere? Why are so many experts saying this is the thing to do?
Right. I think one of the most powerful reasons is what we touched on earlier, this idea of building brand authority and thought leadership.
Yeah.
Forbes books, they really emphasize that podcasts give you this platform to share your expertise in a way that's just different.
Okay, so unpack that a little. What do you mean different?
Well, think about it. It's like if you're a CEO, right, or someone, in a key position in your company, you can actually speak directly to your audience, to people who are interested in what you do. You can share your vision, your knowledge, and your perspective. It's not just like marketing speak.
Yeah.
It's coming from you. In your voice.
Right, it's humanizing the brand.
Exactly. And Forbes points out that these kinds of discussions, they actually build your credibility over time because you're putting yourself out there consistently, sharing valuable insights. People start to see you as, a real leader in your industry.
Yeah. And Forbes also talks about how it can attract investors.
Right.
And potential partners and even top talent because they're like, oh, wow, this company is really forward thinking.
Yeah, they're ahead of the curve, sharing knowledge, building community.
Exactly. And then having a website dedicated to your podcast, that's like the cherry on top.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
It creates that central hub where people can go to find all your great content all in one place. Really reinforces that authority.
I love that. Okay, so it's not just about sounding smart, though. It's also about building trust, right?
Right, and Forbes is really clear on this. They say that the way you share your personality, your values, that genuine human side of your brand through a podcast That's what really fosters that connection. It's not like a traditional ad where you're just trying to sell something.
You're letting people in.
Exactly. You're letting people in. And that builds loyalty in a way that you can't really achieve with other marketing methods. You're strengthening your reputation over time. People are more likely to stick with you if they feel like they know you, like you, and trust you.
Yeah, they feel like they've got a relationship. Okay, so I'm getting that authority piece. Now let's talk about reach. How do podcasts help you reach more people, specifically the right people?
Okay, so for this, we're going to look at what Forbes says about expanding your reach and connecting with your target audience. They have this great line. They say, a podcast is a personal invitation to a thought leader's inner circle.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, right. It's personal. You're inviting people in. And it's this very focused, intimate experience, which is really good at cutting through the noise, especially for busy people. You're not just throwing content out into the void. You're creating something that people are actively seeking out.
Right. They're choosing to listen. They're interested.
Exactly. And that means they're more likely to, actually listen to what you have to say.
So it's not just about broadcasting to everyone. It's about creating a space for those who really want to hear what you have to say.
Exactly. And then you've got this added bonus, which Forbes also mentions, of being able to share exclusive content through your podcast. You can have guest speakers, other thought leaders in your industry, and their audience discovers you and your audience discovers them. It's like cross-pollination.
It's a win-win.
Totally. And then think about the platforms themselves, like Spotify and Apple Podcast. They're constantly suggesting new podcasts to their users.
Right.
As Forbes points out, that means you've got built-in visibility.
That's huge.
It is. You could have someone just browsing for podcasts on, like business tips or whatever your field is, and bam, they find you. So every episode you put out is another chance to connect with potential clients, partners, or even investors.
It's like putting yourself right where your audience is already looking. Okay, so we've got the authority, we've got the reach. Now let's talk about how this actually translates into business growth. I mean, how does a podcast move the needle concretely?
Okay, so Forbes Books is really clear on this. They say that podcasts are about building bridges with your listeners.
Okay, I like that visual. Bridges.
Yeah, it's about creating those connections. And they talk about teaching and empowering your audience, helping them develop skills, showing them how to overcome those business challenges that we were talking about earlier.
Right.
When you do that consistently, they say, it directly contributes to your company's growth.
So it's not just a vanity project, it's an actual business tool.
Exactly. It's a way to grow your business.
Right.
And Forbes calls it an ecosystem.
Interesting. So more than just a marketing channel.
Right. It's a way to attract new people, but also to really strengthen those relationships you have with your current audience. You're building a community around your brand.
Yeah.
And they have this really smart tactic. They suggest recording video versions of your episodes too.
So you can reach people on YouTube as well.
Exactly. You're maximizing your reach that way.
That's smart. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit now and talk about audio itself, because I think there's something really special about the power of audio and particularly the intimacy it creates with listeners. What do you think?
Oh, totally. I think that's one of the things that makes podcasts so compelling. And the future, they have some really fascinating insights about this. They actually say that virtual reality is happening in the ears.
What do they mean by that?
Well, think about it. When you're listening to a podcast, you're often doing other things, right? You might be commuting or working out or even just doing chores around the house. But the audio is right there with you, enhancing that experience. It's like you're creating a soundtrack for your life.
Yeah, it becomes a part of your routine.
Exactly. And the future really emphasizes that this audio-only experience, it creates a very personal connection because the host's voice is literally in your head.
Right, it's a direct line.
Yeah. And they make this really crucial distinction, saying that the kind of relationship you build with someone who listens to your podcast, it's often deeper than, say, the connection you might have with a follower on YouTube.
Because it feels more personal.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Because they've chosen to spend time with you to let your voice into their world.
Yeah, and they're really listening. They're actively engaged.
Absolutely. And the future actually suggests that listeners might feel like they've, gone to bed with you or dreamed about you, which sounds a little weird maybe.
Okay, that's a little intense.
I know, but I think it illustrates their point about how powerful that audio connection can be.
Right, it's a different kind of engagement.
Totally. And they even talk about how Even if your podcast audience is smaller than your following on other platforms, those listeners are often way more engaged and excited about each new episode.
Okay, so it's quality over quantity in a way.
Yeah, exactly. It's a smaller but much more dedicated and loyal audience.
I like that. So let's bring all this back to the bigger picture. How does podcasting fit in with all the marketing trends that we're seeing emerge, as we head into 2025?
Oh, that's a great question. And this is where I think Alex Catoni's perspective becomes really important, because she talks about how authenticity is absolutely crucial in 2025.
Right, because trust is.
It's at an all-time low, exactly. Consumers are really skeptical, especially with all this AI-generated content floating around. It's hard to know what's real and what's not.
Right, and what's just like trying to sell you something.
Exactly. But a podcast with a real human voice sharing genuine insights, it cuts through that. It builds trust because it feels real.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, this is a real person talking to me, not some marketing machine.
Exactly. Okay, so what else? What other trends does podcasting align with?
Well, Alex Catoni also talks about how important it is to build connections, to start conversations. And that's what podcasts are all about, right? Whether it's a solo host sharing their thoughts or an interview format where you're bringing in different voices, it's about fostering dialogue.
Yeah, it's about engagement, not just broadcasting.
Exactly. And both HubSpot Marketing and Alex Catoni also talk about how content creation, not just ads, is essential for success. Podcasts are valuable, long-form content that offers real substance.
Yeah, it's not just a quick hit.
Exactly. And HubSpot Marketing actually has this stat. They say that long-form video and audio content gets 10 times more engagement than blog posts alone.
Wow, 10 times.
Yeah. So people are clearly craving that in-depth content.
Okay, so last trend connection. What about this whole idea of personal branding? I mean, everyone's talking about how important that is.
Right. Yeah. That's where, experts like Omar El-Takrori come in. They say that people are way more likely to trust individuals than they are to trust, a faceless corporation.
Yeah, they want to see the face behind the brand.
Exactly. And a podcast is a great way to do that. The host often becomes the face of the brand, and their personality shines through.
Okay, so I'm sold. I mean, the case for podcasting is strong, but let's get practical.
Let's do it.
What are those 10 tips that you can walk us through so we can actually launch a podcast without, having a complete meltdown?
All right. Tip number 1. And this comes from Adam Earhart. He says you got to define your offer and your target audience.
Okay, that makes sense. Get really clear on who you're talking to.
Exactly. He says that, when you're starting a podcast especially, you should really focus on one specific offer at a time.
Don't try to be everything to everyone.
Right. Niche down. And to do that effectively, you got to really understand your ideal listener. What's their age range? Where do they live? But even more importantly, what are their interests, their values, their pain points?
So get into their heads.
Totally. Earhart actually talks about figuring out their miseries, their fears, their problems, and their miracles, their dreams, their aspirations.
I like that. So it's about understanding what they're struggling with and what they're hoping to achieve.
Exactly. Because that's how you create content that they'll actually connect with and find valuable. Okay, tip number 2 is to set clear goals.
Okay, goals.
Yeah.
So we're not just wandering around aimlessly.
Exactly. Earhart suggests having a North Star, like a guiding principle for your podcasting efforts.
I love that. A North Star. I like that.
Yeah, it's what's the ultimate aim? It might not be super specific at first, but it's good to have that general direction in mind. Usually the goal is tied to business growth in some way.
Right. So ultimately you're looking to increase sales or revenue.
Exactly. And then from there, you can start to break it down. Okay, what are the metrics that actually matter? So are we tracking leads generated from the podcast or website traffic or, those kinds of things?
Right. It's the things that will actually indicate whether you're moving towards that North Star.
Precisely.
Okay. Tip number 3. What have we got?
Right. Tip number 3 is all about choosing your content type and style.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of thinking about that earlier. There's so many different kinds of podcasts. How do you even choose?
Right. So Adam Earhart, he talks about, the long form audio format of a podcast being this really foundational piece of content.
Okay, I like that. It's a foundation.
Right. But then you got to think about style. Are you going to do interviews with the experts? Or is it going to be more of a solo show where you share your own thoughts and ideas?
Oh, I see. So figuring out what feels most natural.
Exactly. And what aligns with your content goals?
Yeah.
Like, what are you trying to achieve? Maybe you're a natural storyteller, so maybe a narrative approach is better for you. Or maybe you're really good at answering audience questions, so a Q&A format could be great.
Yeah, you can even mix it up.
Oh, totally, yeah. And remember what we talked about earlier with Forbes in the future? If you record video versions of your episodes, you can reach a whole other audience on YouTube.
Right. So you're essentially creating multiple pieces of content from one recording.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great. Tip number 4.
All right, tip number 4 is to figure out where your target audience is actually hanging out online. Like, where are they present and active?
Right, because it's not enough to just make the podcast. You got to tell people about it.
Exactly. And Adam Earhart, he really stresses this. He says that even though your podcast will be available on, all the major podcast directories.
Right, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
You still want to think strategically about where your ideal listener is spending their time online. So are they on Instagram? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on, Reddit? Wherever they are, that's where you should focus your promotion efforts.
Makes sense. Go where the people are.
Exactly.
All right, what about tip number 5?
All right, this one is a biggie. Create compelling content that provides real value.
Okay, well, that sounds obvious, but unpack that a little. What does that actually mean?
Well, Forbes Books really nails it when they say that your podcast should aim to teach and empower your audience. Give them something they can actually use,
Yeah.
Show them how to solve their business problems. And remember what Alex Gattoni and Omar El Takori were saying. Be authentic, be human. Don't sound like a robot.
Yeah, nobody wants to listen to a robot.
Exactly. And Think Media Podcast, they always talk about the power of storytelling.
Yeah.
People connect with stories, share lessons you've learned, even mistakes you've made. That makes you relatable.
Right, it makes you human. It builds that trust that we were talking about earlier. Okay, tip number 6.
This one is pretty straightforward, but it's crucial consistency.
Oh yeah, like showing up regularly?
Exactly. Establish a publishing schedule that you can stick to, whether that's weekly, every other week, or even just once a month. And then be consistent with it.
Right, because people will start to expect it. Right. And if you're not consistent, they might lose interest.
Exactly. Consistency shows your audience that you're serious about this, that they can rely on you to deliver valuable content on a regular basis.
Okay, I like that. It builds trust again.
Yep, it's all connected.
Okay, what about tip number 7?
All right, tip number 7 is all about promotion. So you created your awesome podcast. Now you've got to promote it strategically.
Get the word out.
Yes. Share those episodes on your website and all your social media channels. And get this, HubSpot Marketing and Adam Earhart both suggest creating shorter clips from your episodes, like little teasers or sound bites, things you can share on Instagram Reels or TikTok, those kinds of platforms.
Yeah, that's smart. Grab people's attention and then lead them back to the full episode.
Exactly. And the future makes a great point about reviews. Encourage your listeners to leave reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those platforms.
Because reviews help with discoverability.
Totally. The more good reviews you have, the more likely people are to find your podcast.
Okay, good tip. All right, moving on. Tip number 8.
Tip number 8 is about building your first-party data.
Okay, break that down for me. What does that mean?
Okay, so this is about owning your audience data.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily own your followers on social media. The platform can change their algorithm or whatever. But HubSpot Marketing and Adam Earhart, they both emphasize the importance of using your podcast to encourage people to sign up for your email list or to download an exclusive piece of content or a guide. That way you're building your own database of people who are interested in what you have to offer.
Oh, I see. So you're not reliant on the algorithm. You have a direct line of communication with them.
Exactly.
Smart. Okay, tip number 9.
Okay, so this one is about seeing your podcast as a part of your marketing funnel.
Okay, so it's not just a standalone thing over there. It actually fits into the bigger picture.
Exactly. Adam Earhart really stresses this. He says, think about how your podcast can guide people through the customer journey.
I like that. So it's like a path almost.
Yeah, exactly. And he talks about including clear calls to action within your episodes. So maybe you encourage people to visit your website for more information or to download a resource that's related to the episode. Or maybe you even just directly invite them to contact your business.
Oh, I see. So it's not just about giving information. It's about actively moving people closer to becoming customers or a client.
Precisely. Your podcast should be working for you, not just existing in a vacuum.
Love it. Okay, we've reached our final tip. What's number 10?
All right, the big one, budgeting.
The one everyone's been waiting for. Let's talk about money. Because, a lot of people think podcasting has to be super expensive, right?
Right, yeah. But it doesn't have to be. And that brings us back to our amazing sponsor, 360 Nexus Marketing. Remember them?
Oh, yeah. The folks with the 105-star reviews.
Yes. They offer a complete, done-for-you podcast launch service for, just wait for it, $249.
Okay, that's just ridiculous. That's cheaper than a lot of things.
Right. It's amazing. It really makes launching a podcast accessible to pretty much anyone. And with their track record, you're in good hands. Seriously, give them a call at 212-221-3360. You won't regret it.
That's a number worth writing down, folks. Okay, so we've talked about how to launch a podcast, but let's talk about how to integrate it. Because, it shouldn't be this isolated thing. It needs to be a part of your overall strategy, right?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the smartest ways to do that is through content repurposing. HubSpot Marketing and Adam Earhart both talk about this. Basically, you take your podcast episodes and you turn them into other things.
Okay, give me an example.
So, you could take the audio from your episode and turn it into a blog post. Or you could create social media posts with key quotes or takeaways, or even, make short video clips that you can share on different platforms.
Oh, I see. So you're maximizing the value of each episode.
Exactly.
And then there's SEO.
Right.
Podcasts can actually help your website rank higher in search results.
That's right. When you transcribe your episodes and put them on your website, along with show notes and stuff, it can really boost your SEO.
Because Google loves content.
Exactly. And experts like Wes McDowell and those resources from Google Business Profile Help, they all emphasize how crucial SEO is. And this is especially true for local businesses. Local SEO Strategies talks about how if you have a podcast that focuses on local topics or features guests from your area, it can really help you show up in local search results.
Okay, so that's a win for any brick and mortar businesses out there.
Yeah.
What about community building? I mean, can a podcast help you build a community around your brand?
Oh, absolutely. Forbes Books, Adam Earhart, Alex Catoni, they all say that podcasts can be amazing for this. It's about encouraging interactions, eliciting feedback, creating a space for your audience to connect with each other.
Right, so it's not just you broadcasting, it's a two-way street.
Exactly. And when people feel like they're a part of something, they're more likely to stick around.
Yeah, and they're more likely to tell their friends about it. What about leads? Can you use a podcast to generate leads?
You definitely can. Adam Earhart and HubSpot Marketing suggest offering valuable resources or free downloads within your episodes.
Okay, like lead magnets.
Yeah, exactly. Things that are relevant to the episode that provide extra value, but in exchange for their contact information.
So you're getting something valuable in return.
Exactly. And then last but not least, don't forget about cross-promotion.
Oh yeah, if you have guests on your podcast, have them share it with their audience.
Exactly. It's a super simple but effective way to reach new people.
Great tip. Okay, as we start to wrap things up, I want to come back to this core question. Why are podcasts so essential for brands in 2025?
Okay, to sum it all up, podcasts are a powerful way to build your brand authority, engage with your target audience, and ultimately grow your business. And with those affordable options, like the $249 launch service from 360 Nexus Marketing.
Which is amazing.
Right. It's incredible. It means that podcasting is within reach for pretty much everyone.
And remember, they have over 100 5-star reviews. You can call them at 212-221-3360. Okay, so I think we've made a pretty compelling case for why every brand needs a podcast in 2025.
Yeah, I think so.
But as we leave you today, I want you to really consider this. What unique stories, what valuable expertise does your brand have to offer? What kind of conversations could you start through a podcast that would connect with your ideal customer?
Yeah, think about that, because the possibilities are really endless.
They are. So as you're planning your marketing strategy for 2025, don't underestimate the power of podcasting. It's an incredible tool for building your brand, connecting with your audience, and ultimately achieving your business goals. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.
That's a wrap for this episode of Mastermind Conversations, a Pro Insights podcast powered by Geek in New York, where we don't just talk, we geek it. We hope you gain valuable insights, learn something new, and are ready to apply it in business and life. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps us bring you even more great content. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and always geek it.